Story 1. Cleanses are good for you. Juice cleanses, however, are often just sugar water. Eating healthy with enough fiber will promote a healthy gut. Story 2. Popping your joints or knuckles does not cause arthritis. It simply clears out the gases between your joints. As a side note, I have arthritis, and I certainly did not develop that from popping my joints. Story 3. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. This concept originated from a Kellogg commercial rather than any scientific study. Story 4. For women, weightlifting is not going to make you big and bulky. Go lift weights regularly. Lift like an NFL linebacker. Unless you are taking testosterone, consuming 5,000 calories a day, and lifting heavy weights consistently for years, it is unlikely to happen. Lifting will help you become really fit. Don't worry about getting huge. You won't. Story 5. As a former injury-prone college athlete, a lot of typical shoulder, lower back, ankle, and hip pain is likely due to a lack of mobility and muscle stability. It is essential to do plenty of mobility and band work. Train your hip flexors. Mobility work and active stretching will benefit you in the long run. I wish I had been taught this in university, but I learned it from a physiotherapist. Story 6. Antidepressants are often referred to as happy pills. For many people, they provide assistance to help them rise a little farther out of the pit. Story 7. Moderate drinking is not good for you. Feel free to drink. I do sometimes, but do not convince yourself that it is beneficial. Story 8. Fat is not bad for your health. In fact, fat can be beneficial in moderate quantities. If your fat-free food is filled with sugar or corn syrup, it can be even worse than the original version. People who advocate for moderation should remember that initial findings led to widespread fear, resulting in the complete elimination of fats from our diets and the introduction of a wide range of fat-free foods. Even healthy fats from sources like avocados, coconuts, and eggs were deemed harmful because of their fat content. Margarine was created out of fear of butter. However, these new fat-free foods often contained high levels of sugar and corn syrup to replicate taste, making them more harmful than their original fatty counterparts. Story 9. Vaccines do not cause autism. I am a social worker and therapist. Signs of autism are usually present earlier but tend to be easier to identify around the time of the first major set of vaccinations. The same applies to schizophrenia. A friend or family member does not develop schizophrenia due to a bad breakup or some other experience. It simply becomes more noticeable around major life events and late adolescence, which can extend to age 25. Patterns often emerge when we conduct family inventories. Recall the uncle in your family who was somewhat different in the past. He probably lived undiagnosed with a significant condition. Story 10. Chronic illnesses and disabilities are not rare. They can affect anyone. I was a healthy, active 22-year-old woman working 48 hours a week as a caregiver, and I still became disabled. Now, at 26, I can't walk more than 10 minutes without pain and feel exhausted from any strenuous activity. Can happen to you. Don't take your health for granted. Story 11. That exercise leads to weight loss. The truth is nuanced. Diet matters significantly more when it comes to weight loss, while exercise is shown to be better for maintaining weight rather than losing it. People who believe this myth often become frustrated and stop exercising when they do not lose weight. Exercise at any weight is beneficial for many other reasons. Story 12. You should aim to get 10,000 steps each day. Don't get me wrong. Walking is healthy, but many people obsess over this number and feel disappointed when they don't achieve it every day. This figure originates from a Japanese product that counted steps, and they used the 10,000 steps concept simply because it sounded appealing. It has no scientific basis. So yes, go for a walk and get your daily movement, but don't fixate on reaching 10,000 steps. Story 13. Raw milk is considered better for you than pasteurized milk. However, I do not want to consume any substance that comes from an animal in its raw state. Raw milk carries a significant amount of bacteria and spoils quickly. Livestock animals can be dirty, and the potential for manure contamination in milk is concerning. It is puzzling why some people prefer to drink raw milk. Historically, Milk caused hundreds of thousands of deaths each year before regulations and widespread pasteurization were implemented. I do not understand why some individuals believe raw milk is healthier and want to revert to less safe practices. The general disdain for government regulation seems to lead some people to disregard common sense. Story 14, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder only affects children, and you can grow out of it is not true at all. It affects adults differently and can be completely devastating if left untreated. I was diagnosed at 24 and began medication shortly after. It has been life-changing for me. Story 15. It is not common among non-healthcare individuals, but a surprising number of medical textbooks claim that different races have different pain tolerances, which is false. Story 16. Antiperspirant does not cause cancer, so you do not need to use unpleasant natural deodorant that leaves you with an undesirable odor. Story 17. That all acne can be cured with a good diet, cleanliness, and exercise is a misconception. While some forms of acne may improve with these measures, there are instances when hormones, genetics, and other factors play a significant role. When I had severe cystic acne, the number of people who suggested I simply needed to wash my face, adopt healthy eating habits, and exercise was overwhelming. Did they not consider that I had already tried these approaches? I experimented with every trend, remedy, and piece of advice I received. Eventually, I consulted a National Health Service dermatologist at the age of 29, who confirmed that those measures would not work for my acne. After undergoing treatment, I achieved clear skin. Even though my eating habits are poor and I do not exercise, my skin remains in excellent condition. Story 18. It's very general, but when people depict certain ingredients as harmful by saying, too much undersurface is bad for you, they miss the point. Literally everything has an amount that could be considered excessive. Overall, people need to be more informed about their health, which means taking the time to investigate and understand specific ingredients and substances. Many will try to sell you on various products using vague reasoning because they know most people won't actually take the time to look for real data. Don't be that person. Take those 5 minutes. Story 19. Being in poor health is not a moral failing, and people who struggle with their health should not be treated as less than human. Being obese does not make you a bad person unworthy of compassion or respect. Story 20. You are your own best advocate. No, I pay high premiums and experience fraudulent fixed pricing so that the insurer, nurse, doctor, and receptionist will be my best advocate. Story 21. Vaping is a healthier alternative to cigarettes. This is technically true. Cigarettes are indeed worse for you than vaping. However, this is not an excuse to start vaping, as it still leaves you susceptible to issues like nicotine addiction and respiratory damage. I am not opposed to vaping products. Quite the contrary. I fully support using vaping as a means to quit smoking, especially if you gradually adjust your formula to reduce nicotine intake. I have seen it as an effective quitting tool for many friends and coworkers who smoked for decades. I do not want vaping products taken off the market. I believe they are one of the greatest health innovations for lifelong smokers. However, when individuals with no prior smoking history decide to start vaping because they believe it is a healthy alternative to cigarettes, that is concerning. It is not a healthy alternative to anything. It is still something best avoided. Enjoy the freedom you might not realize you have, as you are the envy of millions who wish they never took that first step. Story 22. This may be less common than it used to be, but the idea that you need to wait 30 minutes after eating before you go back into the water to swim, otherwise you may get cramps and possibly drown, still exists. Story 23. I can't believe I haven't seen this yet. Not all diabetes is caused by diet. Diabetes is an umbrella term for type 1, type 2, gestational, and other forms of diabetes. 90% of diabetics have type 2, which is often associated with diet. 10% have type 1 diabetes, which is autoimmune and cannot be prevented by diet. Type 1 diabetics can eat just like anyone else. They just need to manage it with insulin injections. Type 1 diabetics are tired of people saying that eating sugary foods will cause diabetes. Story 24. Circumcision is a practice that should be reevaluated. It is concerning that a procedure involving the most sensitive part of the penis can be performed on boys without their consent. often justified by claims of hygiene. This practice appears outdated and raises ethical questions about consent and bodily autonomy. Story 25. Just exercise and go outside more. It will help reduce your depression, anxiety, chronic fatigue, and chronic pain. Yes, your environment and how you take care of your body matter. However, it isn't a magic solution, and many people face barriers when it comes to exercising. Story 26. You do not need to eat for two while pregnant. It only takes about 300 extra calories a day to ensure a healthy pregnancy. Story 27. Seed oils are bad for you while butter is good. Despite being widespread on the internet, there is no empirical evidence for the former claim, while there is an abundance of evidence for the latter. Story 28. Targeted fat loss is possible. You won't lose a father figure with abdominal workouts. A healthy diet rich in fiber and whole grains will yield impressive results. Story 29. Any diet that a company is selling you is unnecessary. Just get a calorie counting app for free and don't exceed your daily allotment. I lost 40 pounds and have maintained it for 2 years now. Story 30. You can boost your metabolism with some simple tricks. Your metabolism, determined by your age, weight, and genetics, remains constant outside of extreme circumstances or negligible differences. Your body will not enter starvation mode simply because you skipped a meal. Story 31. Being thin does not necessarily mean you are healthy. I mainly consume unhealthy food. I just don't eat much and exercise for an hour every day. Story 32. That children are being harmed by gender surgeries. That is not happening. Story 33. You need to consume adequate protein, but it's quite hard to eat below your recommended dietary intake. One would have to maintain a very poor diet to achieve that. A colleague of mine justifies having meat with every meal based on this reasoning. He believes he is a bodybuilder but overlooks the importance of regular exercise. Story 34. The gluten-free hype. Don't get me wrong. There are legitimate issues caused by gluten, and it's important to have this information on products. What I mean is the advertising that prominently features gluten-free on packaging for products that, by default, do not contain gluten, such as corn or rice. Story 35. Everyone needs a skincare routine. The majority of people do not require elaborate routines or expensive products. Their skin is just fine on its own. If you need 16 products and an hour to remove your makeup, you are likely wearing too much makeup. Story 36. Detoxification. Ladies and gentlemen, your liver is doing an amazing job of detoxifying. All you have to do is love it and take care of it. Eat nutritious food, consume alcohol in moderation, and be cautious with your medication intake. Story 37. Vaccines do not cause autism. Many research studies have proven this to be false. Additionally, the idea that the risks of any vaccine are worse than the disease itself is incorrect. Story 38. You only use 10% of your brain. This is incorrect. The entire brain is constantly active, even during sleep, regulating, monitoring, sensing, interpreting, reasoning, planning, and acting. Even individuals with degenerative neural disorders, such as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease, still use more than 10% of their brains. Story 39. Red wine has health benefits, but no amount of alcohol is good for you. While small amounts of alcohol can help you de-stress and reduce cortisol levels, there are many other non-alcoholic ways to achieve the same effect. Story 40. Cooking in aluminum pots and pans causes Alzheimer's disease. Additionally, much of the research on Alzheimer's disease was falsified, but I am not going to elaborate on the details. Story 41. 8 hours of sleep and adequate hydration are suggestions based on individual needs. Breakfast is not necessarily the most important meal of the day. Story 42. Just watch what you eat and exercise. I have polycystic ovary syndrome. I can't lose weight easily. Running is actually bad for my joints, especially since my ankles are very weak. Story 43. Colloidal silver is not a cure-all. This drives me insane because the mother I nanny for makes one of her children take it every morning. Story 44. Everyone needs 8 hours of sleep each night. Some individuals require more, while others need less. Some nights we don't sleep, and some nights we do. Occasionally, we nap during the day, which means we may need less sleep at night, but sometimes naps don't make a difference. I have many patients dependent on sleeping tablets due to unrealistic expectations about how much they are supposed to sleep. Story 45. I grew up being told you need to bundle up as much as you can to break a fever. You have to overheat yourself and sweat it out. This is incorrect. That can cause heat stroke and do much more harm than good. You're supposed to dress lightly and avoid getting too hot or too cold. Story 46. Anything detox. Everything you need for detox is water. Gluten is bad. Unless you are allergic, it is not. You will lose weight as long as you maintain a calorie deficit. You need to actually burn calories. If you just stop eating nutrients, your metabolism will slow down significantly. If a woman's vagina has an odor, she may need to wash less. The most common source of vaginal odor is washing too much, which can disrupt natural acidity. Everybody should be taking supplements. Get a test for vitamin deficiencies before taking anything. The vast majority of my 14-year-old students take various supplements without ever consulting a doctor. Whitening toothpaste and whitening strips have no benefits. Story 47. Your body does not need to be detoxified by any product. That is the job of your liver and kidneys. If they are not working properly, no detox product will help. Story 48. Genetically modified organisms are harmful to your health. It has become so concerning that I refuse to purchase any products that do not have a non-genetically modified label. Story 49. Milk is beneficial for the body and essential for strong bones. This claim was a myth promoted by the dairy industry. Story 50. Medical x-rays can be intimidating, but you do not need a lead shield over your gonads during the procedure. Story 51. Non-GMO foods are better. We have been genetically engineering foods since early humans discovered that if they selectively bred wheat plants over generations, they could make bread. Cows have been selectively bred too. Chicken breasts? The same applies. Corn tortillas wouldn't exist without generations of maize breeding. You're likely alive today because of genetically modified foods. Story 52. Small cuts, like those that can be treated with a store-brand bandage, do not need to air out. I have encountered some of the most skilled nurses in the profession, but for some reason, this harmless belief persists. More moisture allows the cells to perform better in repairing the damage quickly. Certainly, remove the bandage, wash the area with hot water and soap, dry it, and then reapply a new bandage. Story 53. No amount of alcohol is good for you, and there is no such thing as moderate drinking or a functioning alcoholic. Story 54. Oh man, can we please end the myth that you need to drink 8 glasses of water a day? The truth is, your body is good at signaling when it's thirsty. Don't get me wrong, I still drink a lot of water daily, but there's no strict rule. Studies indicate that hydration needs vary greatly based on diet, activity, and individual factors. So forget the guilt about water intake and drink when you feel like it. Story 55. Those detox teas are unnecessary. You have kidneys, a liver, and possibly a gallbladder. You don't need a detox tea. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.